Hi, I'm Katie from Clonmel Acupuncture Centre, and today I'm going to be showing you two really powerful acupressure points that you can use on yourself to allow the body to flow into autumn with a bit more ease and a bit more energy, because I think that's what a lot of people are craving that come into my clinic at the moment. Most of us are feeling a little bit tired when we wake up in the mornings. We're really feeling that darkness in the morning where you're not getting that initial wake up from the sun, so it's just taking that little bit more energy to get up, to get going. I don't know whether you're experiencing that. A lot of people coming into me in the last 2 weeks have really felt that. So we're going to do some acupressure points to help the body come into autumn with a bit more energy, because we've also had quite a stressful period of time outside in the media and outside in the world, and if you're following that, that can be very overwhelming in itself. On top of that, these acupressure points are really powerful for young adults, children, because they've had a summer off. So they've had the summer to sort of recharge their energy, and then they're going straight into learning again. And the energy organs that I'm finding are particularly impacted at this time, just as we're coming into the beginning of autumn, is the spleen energy, okay? Your spleen energy, if you come into me, I'll be asking you to look at your tongue, and sometimes you can see my face. I'm like, oh, have you drunk enough water? And you can find you have little teeth indentations on your tongue. Your tongue, it looks a little bit bigger than it perhaps should be. And that's a really important key to your spleen chi and where it's at. And if you're having this big tongue with scallops, it's a really good time to do these acupressure points that I'm going to show you. And they will really help clear what we call dampness in your body. Now, your spleen energy from a child's point of view is impacted when they use their brains, when they're studying. So when they're using their brain, they're studying. They've just come into school last month, and now I find in October, the beginning of October is the point where their energy starts to drop. I don't know whether you've discovered that or you're experiencing that, but it makes perfect sense in our medicine. And when you look at outside in the Northern Hemisphere, we have autumn coming in. So what happens in autumn? Everything starts to dry up, everything goes inwards. When you look at the trees outside, they're starting to bring their energy back in to preserve. All the plants are doing the same. Growth is starting to reduce slightly. Our bodies have that same feeling, and sometimes it's really important to connect to that. And then once you understand why you're feeling that tiredness, we can just help the body move it along a little bit. So from the spleen energy, some key notice points are, red flags perhaps is the better word. Waking up tired, waking up with a hangover feeling even though you've not had any alcohol. That's a really important one to tell you that your spleen needs some TLC, some tender loving care, nurturing, all that, okay, nourishing. When you crave sugar, like properly crave sugar, like you start thinking about it and you can't stop until you actually eat the whole bar of chocolate. Spleen chi is craving that, okay? The other thing is when you're overthinking. So if you find yourself becoming completely overwhelmed with a thought and it won't go away, and you're lying in bed and you're going, am I going to do this tomorrow? Blah, 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 blah. Spleen chi is out of balance. The tongue, like I said, the scallops, all these things. Or when you've eaten and you just get really tired. So say at lunchtime you eat and you're just like, I just literally could lie down and have a little nap. That's your body telling you that this energy needs to move, this energy needs to be nurtured, this energy needs a bit of TLC, and you'll feel much better. So we're going to go through two acupressure points that I want you to do on a 7-day period. So say from today onwards. And I'd love it if you could give your body 2 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes in the evening over this time, and you'll feel much better. So also in traditional Chinese medicine, the lung and the large intestine channels, so they are the energy lines of the lungs and energy lines of the large intestines, they are impacted in autumn. The energy is in them and it needs to be looked after and nourished more. And that is why we tend to fall sick at this time. We tend to get head colds, we tend to get sinus issues, all upper respiratory stuff is a little bit more apparent coming into October and November. So if we do these spleen points now, with another key point on the pericardium meridian, which is all about your internal heart connections with yourself, anxiety, so many other incredibly important parts of our mental health. When you nourish these two, they then have a profoundly beneficial effect on your immune system, which is what we need to have built up coming into the winter months. So let's go through these points now. So this point that I'm going to get you to use is called Spleen 4. It's on the spleen channel at the side of the foot. Now, I have done quite a few acupressure points and videos with you, and what I really, really want you to become aware of is your own body. I can tell you the anatomical positioning of all these points, but what I'm really wanting you to do is feel. You will get it right if you feel. An acupressure point is literally the empty spaces between the tissues, okay? You will feel it if you just spend that little bit of time having a poke around and feel the chi, the energy. You will feel that because it will be sore to you. And if you have had any of the symptoms that I have said before, like tiredness, on waking, overthinking, craving sugar, this point will really feel quite tender to touch. Now, Spleen 4 is one of the most beautiful points to help with digestive issues. I find it one of the best points to regulate menstruation, especially for those that have very long cycles. It is incredible to allow your body on a spiritual level, allow your mind to be really present, to be really here. So it's great for people that tend to find that they're up in their heads a lot and they're overthinking everything, and they find it quite hard to come back into the here and now. This point is a really powerful point to bring you back in. It also helps us be very aware of what we have, and in autumn time it's like a harvesting point. We're aware of everything we've done to our bodies to give it that nourishment that it needs to go to the next level, which is autumn winter. So it's a really good point for stomach issues of any kind, digestive issues, hernias, things like that, where the energy rises up through the body. It's a great point to help and support these. It's easy to find, but as acupuncturists and when I'm training people, I find that they tend to go too far down into the foot. Okay, so Spleen 1 is up by the side of the big toe, and then we just trace our finger down into the metatarsals here, and it's Spleen 4 is on the line basically where your foot and your sole meet. So often people find that they actually have a colour change there from white to pink. Not necessarily, but sometimes that's a great way to find this point. So you go onto the metatarsal here, and Spleen 4 is just before the joint, just before the first metatarsal joint, and it is here. Feel it as you press your thumb quite firmly on that bone. So you can really push into this. Do not be afraid to apply plenty of pressure on this point. It needs it, okay? So use the ball of your thumb rather than your actual nail itself, and give it a really deep push in, using your breath, taking a nice deep breath in. Hold that breath and release on your out breath, applying more pressure as you breathe out. And relax again and go again. Another deep breath in. Really get at this point now. Imagine the energy moving from your finger all the way up your body, all the way up through your stomach. Breathing in and breathing out, relaxing as you go. Asking your shoulders to relax. Asking your body just to be here, present at this moment. Okay, another deep breath in, pushing in and pressing this point. And you will feel this point. If you cannot feel that this is tender, you need to just come forward a little bit or behind where my finger is. But if, as I said, if you found that there's a joint here, you've gone too far. Okay, so you've done at least 4 breaths with your foot point, your Spleen 4. And your foot is feeling a little bit tingly. There's a bit of energy there. You're aware the blood supply is actually, really starting to come in. What you do now is the opposite hand to the foot that you have just pressed. So if it was your right foot, you use your left wrist. If it was your left foot, you use your right wrist, vice versa. So bilaterally, you're going across the body for this next acupressure point, which is called Pericardium 6. Now, I have showed you this point before in previous videos. It is one of the key points for anxiety and to calm the mind. It can be used on any age group at all, from newborn all the way up, and it is a very powerful sedative treatment for those that are suffering from anxiety, panic attacks, any chest issues that they're getting on a physical level as well in the pericardium. So this point is one of the easiest points to find in the body, and the best way to do it is to use 3 fingers and get to your wrist crease, palm side up, wrist crease all the way down towards the elbow, and your point is between the 2 tendons here, okay? Now, this point has to be pressed firmly for it to have any effect. And a lot of you might be aware that this is also a point you would use when you're traveling. So your C-bands, your wrists tend to be, that's the point that you're using for that. So anyone that's ever used those wristbands before, you'll find that this is the point for that. So you might be aware of that point. So 3 fingers of your own. So make sure whoever's body you're doing it on, if it's yourself, make sure you're using your own fingers as a measure, okay? And then pressing quite firmly with a thumb in between the 2 tendons here. And the point is quite deep in here, and it needs to be stimulated quite deeply with your thumb. Taking a nice deep breath in, applying more pressure, and then releasing on the out breath. I need you to do this at least 3 times. Breathing in, pressing firmly, releasing on your out breath. So breathing in again, really get in there. Wiggle your fingers if you're finding it hard to locate. It will be tender, I can assure you. Most people find that this point is actually a really powerful point to find once you've got it. Pericardium 6 is just the most beautiful point to really nourish your heart. It's a real point to help you if you're feeling just that little bit low, that you need a bit of it's almost like a hug of an acupressure point. I love it. It's so powerful. When you combine it with Spleen 4 on your foot, it is amazing. Have a go. So those are the points I really would love you to try bilaterally across the body. So whichever foot you use the opposite hand in the morning, and then in the evening I want you to try the other foot and the other hand. So you're bilaterally doing the points, swapping over at night time. Try it for 7 days, 7 consecutive days, and see how the body feels. Let me know in the comments. I find it's incredibly powerful. These 2 points work together. They reconnect the body, they give the body a bit of a wake up, and it's really what we need coming into autumn and winter, sort of stimulate the immune system, sort of switch it on. But most importantly, it's about nourishing and nurturing yourself. As you would the outside world, you bring it in. Notice that. Keep yourself hydrated. Make sure you're drinking lots of warm fluids rather than ice cold fluids. Making sure you're eating within the season. It's an amazing time to start bringing in the root vegetables into your diet, stews, things that are very easy for the spleen to digest, nothing that it takes hours for your body to process. Really look after the body, and the body will look after you. It is a no-brainer and it works. So try these points for 7 days if you can, and let me know how you get on.